Welcome to our very high-end professional podcast.
Yeah, as it starts while I'm still finishing setting up my mic.
Finicking
All
around.
those
Is that a word?
finishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this friggin' little cool little basket that keeps it like all stable and shit. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's not
Keeps
working.
it from making strange noises while we're recording.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
picking up some momentum here, though. We got
We have
our
something.
second episode since the new year, and we have a guest.
And we have a guest.
Another
Hey,
guest. This is Donald Evelyn McCooeye of Upper East Side, Nova Scotia.
God, I hope
His
people
parents,
Google my full name now and see
yeah,
that.
his parents. Actually, I did that to my brother once. I had to overnight him his wallet because he was going on a trip, and I put
Okay.
Vivian as his middle name, and
So good.
he had to use
She's a
ID.
passive aggressive fuck you. I love it.
Oh no! And he had to show ID, but none of his ID showed that middle name.
That's what I mean. I love it. So good.
Oh man, it was just great. Anyway, so for all of our awesome listeners out here, Don and I go way back. We used to work together in the Army on the East Coast, and Don has done a lot since then. And right now, he is working for Royal LePage on the East Coast, and we thought it'd be really interesting to get Don out here to talk a few things. In no particular order. The Canadian real estate market is fucking just the easiest thing to understand right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it might be cool to have an expert glimpse into what that's all about. Also, changing occupations is a huge thing, and it's a much more popular career option, I think, that people are realizing these days. So Don's got a lot of experience in that way, and how he went about it is pretty interesting as well. So, Jenna, if you're good with it, I'm ready to let Don McCooey take the world by storm over here.
Yeah, pass the torch over to him. So Don, tell us about you. What are your humble origins?
Humble. Okay, so first off, thanks for having me on, guys. It's great to be here. It's great to connect. Colin, it's great to see you again, my friend, of course. And so I'm originally a Toronto kid out of Scarborough. Grew up there and then split my time between Toronto and Orillia. When my folks moved up there, they're still back there.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I'm on the East Coast, I'm very much still an Ontario guy, or as I found out when I moved to the East Coast, what they actually call us are dirty Upper Canadians. Just in case you weren't tracking.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. And I was like, anyways. I married an East Coaster. I won her over, so whatever. I win.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You're in, buddy.
So
now she's dirty too.
Exactly. Yeah. So tainted by the dirty Upper Canadians. That's right. But so originally out of Ontario, I did a little bit of time down in the States in Michigan and Ann Arbor. I had a soccer scholarship down there for a little bit, and I came back and went to York University.
Okay, wait. I feel like you're glazing over this. This is like quite a highlight, no? How'd you end up down there?
Hey, I don't want to talk about how I'm good at everything, so I'll just gloss over this this international scholarship I got while talking about how that's right, Don. Back the fuck up and talk to us.
Like any origin story, it's got to be clouded in mystery. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I was playing soccer, and like this is before the MLS, before TFC and all that sort of stuff was there. It was kind of difficult to get athletic scholarships in Canada.
Yeah.
So the States was really our only option. So I ended up getting a scholarship to a private liberal arts college called Concordia University in Ann Arbor, just down the road from U of M. And I went down there and did that for a bit, and then kind of realized, and it's kind of funny actually. This is why it ties in, I think, to like how I ended up where I ended up with the Army. So this is like circa 2005, 6, 7 time frame, right? And like Iraq has been popping off for a few years. Afghanistan's going on. And like my roommate's brother or cousin. Anyway, my roommate ended up joining the Marines after college. But while I was there, they had a recruiter from the U.S. Army come and like talk to all the athletes. And I just was like sitting there hearing them talk about like, joining up and doing this and that. And I was thinking about what a smart thing this was. It's like, you've herded these like goal-oriented, physically fit people into a gymnasium.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's like we're not going anywhere. We're stuck in college or university for a few years, and you're talking about
Yeah.
how you're gonna, you know, pay for education or offer a job, yada yada yada. So they were talking about, joining the military, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think like so many of us.
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized I was like, hey, I'm down here in Yankee Town when like, Canada is actually doing stuff overseas in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
And one was, like a UN NATO backed thing. The other one was maybe not so much. So I
Exploratory.
Mm-hmm.
ex- exploratory is a
Yeah.
very good word. Yeah. So I kind of did some soul searching, and I was like, all right, it's time to come back to Canada and join up. And the intent was to like just join up and just go overseas and do my thing. That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then I applied in
They trapped you.
Windsor. Yeah, I applied in Windsor, and then knowing I was moving back to Toronto, and like when I got to Toronto, my file had been lost. And I mean, this has never happened before. They've never lost a
Never.
file. The military has never, it's never been a thing.
That
Unheard
So I
doesn't
of.
was the
sound like a
first.
thing.
I
Yeah.
can't believe
I
that actually happened to you. It's you hear
I
about
was
it
the first.
sometimes, but
I was the first to do a case
yeah.
study on it, and I think that
Wow.
no, but so I had to reapply when I
Okay.
came back to Toronto, and I got in while I was in my first year. I did my first year like solo and reapplied during that year, and then
Okay.
they were like, "Yeah, man, you're in." So I was like, "Well, I'll go the officer route," and I did civilian university, compensated, of course, kind of like going to RMC, but on the civvy side, and
Different.
yeah, it was a jam to go for sure. So I just did that, and then off to Gagetown, New Brunswick, and do all my phase training, and then off to battalion and did some stuff, and then I don't know, just like and then I released in 2021, January 3rd, 2021. So about what is that? 3 years ago now? Yeah, out for 3 years.
Wow.
So is
Yeah.
that based on the contract? Like, did you sign a contract or something when you first signed up, or was it
hmm
just okay?
Yeah. So the way that it works, Jenna, is when you're going through and they're going to compensate you for your school. I think it's 2 months of service for every like is owed for every month that they subsidize. Now
Oh
they're
wow.
only
Okay.
doing that for like 8 months out of a calendar year, because for the other 4 months that you're not in school, you are being either employed or you're training. So,
You're working
um,
for them. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So there was a time that was owed back, but I mean, I wouldn't change a thing because like I can't tell you how many. I mean, I graduated with um, an English degree, like an English literature degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel that like I probably would have been a barista or something like that, trying to figure my life out,
If you
you know.
hadn't.
Yeah, exactly. So I
Wow.
just I just kind of was like, all right,
It gave
I'll
you a
figure my life
purpose
out.
then
Well, yeah,
for
like
that
your early
time.
20s. Yeah, your
Yeah.
early 20s, and I wasn't looking to settle down or anything like that then, so I was just trying to figure my life out, man. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Those are tough questions to ask. And I mean, the first thing that sticks out to me is 2021 is an interesting time to
Be
transition
free.
from an incredibly stable government job
Yeah.
Mm,
to a job that requires other people to spend their money. So I'm just curious to know how what your mental jujitsu was to kind of square that circle and
mental
take that leap.
jujitsu.
I feel like
Yeah.
everyone listening could just appreciate some of the difficulties, with making a decision like that at that point in time, because it's not like it's not like COVID's fresh. It's only six,
Mm-hmm.
7 months into COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh,
That time.
So
Yeah.
my journey actually started like before 2021. Like so I released, but so I knew for a while, like even when I was in battalion, I mean, when you and I, Colin, kind of were actually effectively employed in battalion or regimental lines doing stuff, like the closeout tours were happening for Afghanistan, things like that were happening, and the good goes were not, as available as perhaps they had been. Jenna, when I say good goes, what I mean is like every now and then, you might get a tasking somewhere, or you might, the military is very different, I think, now than it was 30 years ago, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so there were these great, sexy opportunities to go do fun shit in the way that maybe in years past had been, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if the
Mm-hmm.
opportunities were there were less people available, or less billets or less spots, so the competition was more
Interesting.
fierce, right?
Okay.
So this is all in the background of what's going on, and like um, the the landscape, the political landscape was kind of shifting and changing.
Mm-hmm.
I was posted in Edmonton. The NDP were about to go in power, and just all this stuff was going on. And I was kind of like looking at things and started thinking about what life would look like. This is probably 2014, 15 now. What life would look like if I wasn't in the military.
Mm.
And we, of course, got posted out in 2015, I think, Colin, to our different
Hmm.
mid-level captain jobs kind of thing. Um, and so we
So
did
sorry, was
those.
Edmonton was not your first posting, I assume?
No, so I was in Toronto going to school, and then they posted me to New Brunswick, finished the training there, did a little bit of stuff there, and then I went to Edmonton, and then from
Okay.
Edmonton got posted to Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia wasn't even on the cards actually. It was like I think I was supposed to go to maybe. Okay, so what actually happened was I was off doing this course called Conduct After Capture Instructor, which is like its own thing. And while I was there, I found out that I was going to get posted, which was not like the plan. We had just bought
Okay.
a house the year before. I just
Whoa.
like put a bunch of energy into renovating it.
Oh
You're
my
like all
God.
Um,
my work
That
and
yeah,
is
effort. Yeah.
terrible
yeah,
timing.
yeah. So like I found out while I was gone, we were gonna get posted, and I had to call my wife, and I was like, "Hey, babe," she's like, "What's up?" Oh yeah, and of course like she had um like a she had a pretty like kind of invasive operation that happened suddenly while I was gone. And I mean, the boys were great. Like they, had flowers for her at the hospital, and like someone was there to like get her home, but I was gone.
You
And
were
when I
away?
did get
Okay.
leave, I only had like a 48-hour window.
Oh my
So
God.
like I was gone from Kingston, and then I went out west, and I just saw her there for like a day, and then I had to head back. So
Oh my gosh.
um, so that happened, and then I go back, and then 2 weeks later, they're like, "Hey man, you're getting posted," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Um,
The
Cool,
fuck
no,
cool,
we
cool,
are.
cool.
like I thought, like
That's
time out. Can we just, yeah, time out? Because it was a demanding course, and there's been a lot going on and stuff, and um, so I called Jamie, and I was like, "Hey, babe, so you know how we're not like moving because we were told that like we're gonna be here for a few more years. That's why we bought the house and renovated it and like put all that energy into it." And,
You're
um,
like really prefacing it. Yeah.
oh my God, like I'm just,
Yeah.
yeah. So I really prefaced it well. And she's like, yeah, 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 why, what's up? I'm like, so all of that doesn't matter. And now we're gonna move because adventure is what we crave. And she didn't like,
This is why you
she
ended
like,
up in sales.
she did not like that way I messaged it. There was
Right.
a lot of go fuck yourselves.
Right.
Yeah, it was a one-way conversation. I was on receive, she was on send. And
Yeah.
anyway, so initially my options were I think like North Bay, Ontario, or
They were going to
there's a
send you
few
to
of them.
North Bay.
Yeah.
Barf.
So I told
No offense,
Jamie,
North Bay.
no, like I mean I've been to a couple bingo halls I think in North Bay and Timmins,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's all that's there, but
You got a
yeah,
good feeling for what the place is like. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure did,
Mm-hmm.
sure
um,
did. There's some
sure
cross
did.
section of society here.
So yeah, so I ended up just like calling my boss, and I was like, hey boss, like I'm tracking that these are the spots or the billets that you're gonna try and push me to, but like we just got married in August. I was out in September. I'm not back till December. Some shit went down while I was gone. Like we just gotta hit the pause button on the op tempo of things that have been going on, and like so he was,
That
shout out to
timing.
Reg, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reg was a bro, and he went to bat for me, and he got us out east, man.
Yes.
So I took that job, and it was crazy. Like the wildfires were happening in BC, so my unit was standing up as I was leaving. And then like my CO, I shook his hand and he's like, "Hey man, we're gonna have you back in the regiment in a couple of years, back in the fight." I'm like, "Okay, cool." I get to the East Coast and then like his name's in the media for some shit, and like
Oh,
it
okay. I
was
know who it is. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So it was a wild kind of transition here, and then of course
So do
going
you
from
feel
like
like you got out of that area just in time, or do you feel like you were abandoning your like
mixed
your
feelings for
position?
sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it was like mixed feelings. It was like time for a change, time for something new, but like needed to be challenged, and I wasn't looking forward to the job that I was going into in terms of like it would get you points for your promotion. Like it was a good level position there, and
Mm-hmm.
the
It was
opportunity to
a
maybe like
smart move.
yeah, like it was
Mm-hmm.
going to be good for my family and or for my wife and I. So I was looking forward to it in that regard. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
it's the battalion is like a mothership, if that makes any
Okay.
sense. It's like that's your hub, you know.
Colin's like, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, Colin went from 6 to midnight right now as I'm just talking
Oh,
about
yeah,
battalion shit.
yeah, yeah. No,
He's just like, oh
yeah.
yeah,
You know what gets
oh
me
yeah.
hard is knowing my career is controlled by so few people. That's just fuck yeah, and I'm not one of
Yeah,
them. You know, it's
yeah,
just
right,
great.
right. But anyway, so we went up to the East Coast, 2015. The plan was to be here for 3 years
So
and then
wait,
head
sorry.
back out west.
What ended up being the amount of time between when they initially said you're moving and when you
Yeah,
actually moved?
so I found out in December of 14, and then my posting message was cut in I think March
Okay.
or April. So we had our house in the market in end of April, and oh my God, that was gutting because we put so much effort into it,
That's
To
the
like
make it
so
worst.
much.
yours. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right. So,
Dude,
yeah, so it
I
was a few
know.
months after, right?
Mm.
But say la vie, that's the life, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, on the market, sold it, did okay with it. Come out here for a house hunting trip in June, purchased it, and then my cost date, my change of strength date, I think was like middle of August, I think, or something like that. So
Okay,
that's
so
when I
like
reported for duty,
8 months
basically.
ish. Yeah.
Yeah, ish.
Wow. Okay.
And then, yeah. And then I was out here since 15. So it's been, what, 8 years now, I guess?
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy. Yeah.
Time
And time
flies.
does fly by. It's wild.
It
I
does.
can't believe.
It
I
does.
remember so many parts of living and working out there, especially the Nova Scotia part, going into
Right.
all those brigade meetings and shit. Just fucking. My favorite part was sitting in the back and the brigade staff just getting to know who we are and just really, really being unhappy with that. That was that was a
Oh
favorite
my
part of
god.
my
Well,
day.
man, like one of the things I remember most about that time period was just like, I think that when you were coming from like a hard charging position or a battalion where the optic was high and things like that, and you're coming into a different ecosystem, you got to read the room. And I don't think I did a good
Yeah,
job of that. I didn't do a good
yeah.
job of that when I first showed up, right? Like, I was like, okay, like this is how it is. And everyone just looked at me and they're like, oh, buddy, you're gonna learn. And I was like, no, 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 it's the military. There's one standard, right? And what I learned is that there are different ways to get things done, and people have different ways of approaching things. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So yeah. So came out here in 15, and then
Different climate.
um, did different climate. We had staffing issues, personnel issues, writ large
Those are the
across the
best,
brigade.
right?
Well, I love it because you get to do all of the work and have your people who are just, killing themselves with all the work with, like 65% of what we're supposed to have for manpower. Or sorry, people power. We can't say, you know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Shame.
So people
I'm
power.
glad you
Yeah.
corrected yourself because if you didn't, I was 2 seconds away from kicking you
It's
out of the fucking
2024.
show. This
You
is
fucking
fucking
can 100%.
insanity. I can't believe that happened. My God.
Well, anyway, so yeah, yeah, but like I come out here, I'm giving it my all. I'm not loving things. I'm like, hey, this is whatever. I'm not digging it. So that was when I realized I was like, all right, I gotta find something else. So I started doing my master's degree. So I did that. and
In what field?
disaster and emergency management.
Oh wow.
So I
Okay.
went to Royal Roads, and I did
Was
that
this
while
via
working.
the military?
hmm
Okay. Nice.
So if you haven't already picked it up, I was like, listen,
I'm gonna
listen.
milk this.
Oh
Yes. I'm
yeah.
not.
So so I did that, and I had a really great experience. It was, like my uncle's a prof, and I thought maybe academia was something that I might go into. So I started doing that program and finished that. And then I started doing some contract work with Cape Breton University as a sessional instructor. So I was creating courses and teaching second and third year undergrads, or just second year undergrads, I think. Anyway,
That's a lot
um,
of work. Wow.
yeah. So, but I was doing that while I was working full time,
Yeah. It's crazy.
and because
I'm
I
assuming you
knew
didn't
that
have kids yet at this point.
you are assuming correctly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how?
I,
How? Tell me.
no, I'm a workaholic, right? So like I was like
Okay.
sleeping in my office and shit like that.
Checks
And
out.
Jamie's just like, oh my God, you are emotionally unavailable and a workaholic. I'm like, well,
Yikes.
you fucking knew it when you married me, so
Nailed it.
um, nailed it. But listen, you don't want to tune in for fucking marriage tips from this cat, okay? Like, anyway,
You're
but
like, I'm still learning. I'm still learning.
yeah, exactly. But so I just kind of figured out like during that time that like I needed to do something differently, and I couldn't wait for something to happen to me. I had to go out there and figure it out for myself. So,
Right.
where the fuck does this tie into real estate? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked.
Thanks.
Um,
Sorry. He must have been an awesome person. That to me was just like a quick little snapshot into your professorship. So that's why I
mm,
laughed.
Yeah.
yeah,
I just wanted
yeah,
to,
all eyes on me up front. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
if
so
if you're
where this
tired,
led
stand up
me,
at the back. Sorry.
exactly. Oh my God, those words, man. Yeah. So where this led me was like I was just left feeling frustrated. There were too many parallels of the administration in a university that paralleled the military bureaucracy that annoyed me,
Big
and I
time.
just didn't
Yeah.
feel like I could be efficient. Where I struggle is when I know how to solve a problem, and either due to like budgetary or rank or all kinds of external factors that are not in my control, um, that I'm not able to solve that problem. And why
Okay.
I love being in my job, running my business the way I run it, or I think the entire core of what an entrepreneur really is you have the latitude and flexibility and freedom to unfuck whatever situation is fucked. And
Mm-hmm.
you get to do that. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
And, so here's the analogy. I was the kid that would get pissed off at my grade 10 math teacher when there was a question and I just looked at it and knew the answer. So I write the answer down and I would get 0 out of 5. I'm like, what the
Mm-hmm.
fuck is this? They're
Mm-hmm.
like, well, you didn't show your work. I'm like, fuck showing the work. I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
got to the next question faster than that idiot stick over there. Why do I have
Hey,
to? What?
I'm that idiot stick.
No, stop.
You
I'm
did
just
not write
saying,
out your
like,
math equations? Come on.
No, because I didn't know him. I was dumb. I couldn't.
I was
Anyway,
dumb.
keep going, Don. Why are we?
no. I'm just saying, like, I would get frustrated because, like, I'd look at a question, I see an answer, and I want to move on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's
Efficiency.
maybe just, efficiency or impatience riddled with
Well, when they
some
don't
level of
explain the
competence.
rules too, or like
Yeah,
the end state is you need to verify that I know the
Right.
answer. Like I can get to the. If I got all the answers right, you could fucking. Oh, obviously he knows what he's doing. Not
Mm-hmm.
me, where I throw down numbers and hope they're the right ones. And
just
I
throwing
like
shit at a wall. Yeah.
like all my long answer questions. It's just writing and hoping the answer's in there
Mm-hmm.
somewhere. When I do math, I'm just fucking equations and arrows are everywhere. I'm just
You
hoping that like
see,
it looks
my
hieroglyphic enough that I just get
You're like, you can
enough heart
see my
points.
work, okay?
Yeah,
You
I
see it
love it.
all.
yeah,
Yeah.
See, I was blessed with parents who like nerded out and made me do Kumon. Do you know what that is?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So
Yeah.
like I'd already done all this math shit. You know what I mean? By the time I
yeah,
got to grade 10, I was like, okay,
for
yeah.
sure.
So
Easy
I'm
peasy. Yeah.
so I'm banging this stuff out, and then I would get frustrated when the teacher was like, "Hey, yo, like you got to show your work," and that's what it felt like oftentimes in my jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Was like I can get to the answer, but I don't want to show my work. I don't,
Right.
why? Right. So, um,
What is the
that,
purpose? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Right. And that was just frustrating, I think, the most. So I was like, okay, what does a retired infantry guy do? So I started looking at policing as an option. And I was like,
Fair.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. So this is 2019-20, no, 2019. So I do the pair test. I go to Holland College. I write the exam. I'm like, okay, cool. But like the funding just didn't make sense. I'd have to like leave, like be gone from my family. And then plus there's no guarantee I'd be hired by HRP, Halifax Regional Police, or go RCMP. And I go RCMP, then I'm getting posted all over again.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, dude.
Going back
RCMP
to
is
Oh,
like a
depot in the
military.
training
Yeah.
well, yeah,
system.
it's a paramilitary organization, right? Like VAC covers
Yeah.
them, so it's just like I just I knew I was at a crossroads. You know, we had our first child in 2018, and I knew that, yeah, November of 2018, I knew that I wanted to be a present father and
Mm-hmm.
a present husband. Those were two things that really mattered to me, and I didn't feel that I had the space or the ability to be those things if I continued down the avenue that I was in.
Mm-hmm.
Rightly or wrongly, that's just how I felt. And to be clear, like my chain of command was really great. Like when we had kids, like they were like, yeah, take some time. Like I was never marginalized or repressed or anything like that. But
That's
I
great.
just didn't feel like I could be in that space and have kids. So I was like, okay. So when we had flipped that house out west, I really caught the bug of real estate. And also because like when we had done our house hunting trips, I was like, I was left sometimes scratching my head. I'm like, how are you doing what you're doing? Like it doesn't seem complicated. It doesn't seem hard. It doesn't seem like you're warm, you're fed, you're not living in a ditch. There's no,
Right.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Life's good.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me. So I started like thinking about it and just decided to take a plunge. So although I released in 2021, I actually got my license in January of 20,
Wow.
and then
Nice.
COVID hit in
Mm-hmm.
March, but I still did 18 or 19 deals that first year.
Holy fuck.
Amazing.
My God.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Good for
Your
So
you.
first year.
yeah, so like 18 in the first year while I was working still full time, and that gave me the confidence to like, all right, pull pin. And then my
Jeez
first
Louise,
full
that's a lot.
year, it it's like it is in
Sorry,
like the
I'm thinking
perspective.
like 18 deals. That's more than one a month.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I like, and you're working full time. That's a lot.
yeah. So
You're
like
like,
I
Jen,
was
I'm a
making
workaholic. Did you not hear me?
the days were that was the year like that was the litmus test year. It was like, okay, can I
Okay.
wake up at
Okay.
3:30 and grind and juggle both and do it, and will I like it enough to want to leave a defined benefit pension plan and a
Mm-hmm.
job clocking six figures to go do this?
Mm-hmm.
So the answer for me was yes, because even though you wake up every day unemployed and you got to go hunt for that next meal,
Yeah.
the results are for me way more commensurate with the effort that you put in. So for me, it was like I was already working that hard in the army, but
Right.
there was
Yeah.
no like
Yeah.
you're capped, right?
Yeah, you're not getting
You're
anything
not
on
rewarded
return
for
for
working
your
hard,
effort. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
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 Pardon me. So yeah, so pulled pin, and that first full year, I did 43, 44 deals,
I was
and
just gonna
then
say, and that would have been like in
21.
2021.
Yep,
That would have been a
yep.
dream, no? Because like, weren't a
So,
ton of people leaving
oh
and
yeah,
moving to the East Coast? Like, wasn't that was a
it
thing?
was a whole thing, man. It was a whole thing, dude. Yeah, it was
Mm,
wild. Like it was weird because I didn't know what I didn't know.
right.
So I was blessed in that regard. A lot of agents I think who were veterans in the industry were like, we can't do open houses. We can't do certain things. This is
Hmm.
different for us. And I was just like,
Hmm.
I don't know any better.
Yeah,
So I'm
you're
just gonna
like,
put my
I
head down
don't
and
do
work.
that anyways. So,
I'm like, I don't, yeah. So, so I just grinded, man, for those first few years, and that kind of put me in a position where, I was savvy enough to realize like I would reinvest my business every year, realize, how to scale and start putting the energy into where I needed to put it. And now we're here. We got a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and my wife works with me. She's a licensed agent. And the last 2 years, we've been able to finish in the top 2% of Royal LePage agents across the country. So
Congratulations.
that's,
Wow.
I mean, I can't
yeah, it's
believe he
been,
didn't get top 1%, but he's okay. He's
yeah,
okay. I'm in the top none percent of anything, so that's perfect.
Colin.
it's, I finished like, I'll be clear with that metric in case anyone's listening. They're like, oh, that fucking asshole. That's for like units sold, not for like gross commission sales. So like there are two metrics. One is for income that's come in, and then the other is how many units have you moved.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
reasoning
Yeah, just
is
comparing
because if you live in like, I don't know,
numbers differently. Like you're
Arm
moving different
Prior or
properties.
like, some smaller place and you sell 50 homes, should you not get the same recognition as someone who's in the GTA who's
Yeah.
Right.
clocking 30 homes but at a higher, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
Overall price per listing. So
There was oddly enough, on the radio, I know nobody listens to that anymore, but I was. And they were talking
hey,
about.
I'm a huge fan of CBC Radio 1. You
Oh,
kidding
there
me?
you go.
Yeah.
There was a particular episode where they had gathered the statistics on how many agents sold how many like units. I don't know, is that how
Yeah,
you
yeah,
would
yeah.
refer to
Yeah.
it?
Units, yeah.
Yeah. So they were
Units are
saying.
ends, yeah.
Yeah, they were saying, and I'm not going to remember the figures exactly, but they broke it down to, this many people sold zero,
Yeah.
many people sold between like 1 and 10, and then it
Yeah.
was like between 10 and 20, and then 20 and 50, and then 50 plus. And it was kind
Yeah.
of shocking that the largest number was between, I think it was like the 20 to 50 range. Is that common?
Yeah, so this is a business where I think 20% of us are probably doing 80% of the work. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's because I mean, and especially during the COVID years, I think that people thought
Yeah.
that it was this really easy get rich quick scheme thing where like you go get your license and you know go bang out some deals and but there's a lot more to it. And there's a lot more to it. It's in order to get a deal done, it's not just you and another agent across the negotiating table. And you got to understand who that agent is. You got to understand their background, what they've done, what kind of style they have, who that client is. You got to try to figure out their motivations, line that up with what your client's wants and needs are. And then if you're on the buying side, you better have a good relationship with that lender. Because if problems run into financing and
Mm-hmm.
that lender doesn't know how to problem solve or have a good relationship with the underwriters on the file,
Yeah.
like there's are so many nuances to that people won't see because it's on the surface level, right? Behind
Yeah.
closed doors, it's like it's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I've only been involved in a couple real estate deals, but yeah, there's a lot that's happening between the time where you say it's sold and the
Yeah.
time you take possession of the house, right?
Yeah,
A lot of moving
100%.
parts.
And
Yeah. And
yeah,
so if
a lot of moving
you're
parts and emotions.
yeah. Yeah, it's somebody's house.
Well, it's arguably probably their largest financial asset
Yeah,
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
lifetime.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
the advice that I mean, we think about for a second the kickback and backlash that we saw and we're still seeing from people who took advice from lenders to take a variable mortgage rate,
Mm-hmm.
citing historical lows, saying it's never going to go this high. They lock in on that, and all of a sudden they are, I mean, there's not like foreclosures going across the country here, but I mean, a lot of people are borrowing against lines of credit and struggling to make ends meet or moving in with
Mm-hmm.
family members to try to, do that. And so, I mean, the it's never lost on me the gravity in which the advice or the way we communicate can have an impact on somebody or their lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
I
impressive
think
that you
that's
look at it from
important.
that. Yeah, I think Jen and I are going to say the same thing. Go
Sorry.
ahead, Jenna.
No, I think that's important, and I'm sure your clients find that very valuable as as the person they're purchasing from or with.
Here, here's the honest secret. Okay, here's the legit. I'm just gonna like just spill the secrets about real estate right now. Check it out.
Is it
Okay.
location?
All right, check it out.
Fuck.
Do what you say you're going to do. Number one. Okay.
Legit.
Under promise and over deliver. So that's kind of
Yeah.
contrary to what I just said because I said do what you say you're going to do, but under promise and over deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And then number three is
don't promise anything that's greater than what you intend to actually. Yeah.
yeah. So So in everything that I'm going to try and do, I'm going to try and leave an experience or a feeling for you as a client that it leaves a good memory for you or it leaves a good feeling. So like if I said that we were going to be in this ballpark for a figure, then I got you better than that, or I saved you money, or it doesn't even have to be about money. It could just be like the fact that I remembered that your favorite, I don't know, hobby is pickleball. And I
Mm-hmm.
just, on closing day, I have, you know what, I have like a gift card to the local pickleball. I don't play pickleball, so this is a bad analogy. But my point is, like,
But some people do.
I care
Yeah.
about, yeah, and that's okay because it's 2024. I'm gonna keep saying that for no reason, by the way. All podcasts, I'm just gonna keep saying because it's 2024. But like, it's important to understand what matters to someone, and then respect that and show them that you care and that you listen. So number one is, like I said, do what you say you're gonna do. Number two is under promise, over deliver. Number three is pick up the fucking phone. Pick it up.
Legit.
You
Yeah.
would be shocked. You'd be shocked at how many people are like, couldn't get a hold of my agent. Couldn't get a hold of my agent. Send him a text. Send him a call.
Yeah.
Send him an email.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Really?
man, dude,
I'm
it's
shocked.
whack. And so for me,
Maybe I've been lucky.
coming back from,
Yeah.
well, I hope so. I hope that you've been, had good experiences because
Hmm.
this is an industry where, there can be a lot of perspective on some greasy antics for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy to
Mm-hmm.
hear you've had good experiences. Um, but yeah, like, do what you say you're going to do, man. And, but like, think about it, Colin, like in the army on a BlackBerry all the time. It's no different, really. Like you're accountable all the time.
100%. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the nice thing about yours is like, arguably nothing that I'm going to deal with after hours is super duper important. 99% of the phone calls are stuff that's just not important. Like it's not, if it's important, it takes a few people to solve the problem, and it's usually because someone's health or safety is involved. And we
Right.
keep that close knit anyway, just to make sure that
Yeah.
we avoid confusions and problems. But it's nice to know that when you pick up the phone, the likely end state of that endeavor is going to be supporting your family. You're going to
Yeah.
get money from it. And it's not just that phone call, but you're demonstrating a consistency and a reliability. And I look at real estate kind of like a lot of other sales for big ticket items is you're trying to build a relationship with these people so you get
Yeah.
them to continue to come back and see you and their family, and then the word of mouth picks up and everything like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
So
nice
Yeah.
that
82% of my business was repeat referral last year.
Nice. Wow.
And like that's a huge testament to the faith that like people, continuously will extend my way, and I'm forever grateful for it. But I mean, to your point, Colin, about what you just said there, like, it's not once, and I can say this hand on heart, not once have I ever thought about, the money aspect of anything. If you just focus on the work, all that stuff just takes care of itself. I'm not
It
saying
will
that you
come.
shouldn't care about it or that you don't track it, but if you don't like you can't focus on that part, right? If the bills are getting paid, you just got to focus on the people
Mm-hmm.
and what they need. And I mean, COVID was just a wild time, so like it's settled out now.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What a wild
and
time
and,
to
and you
get
were
into that for sure.
yeah. So like if I don't have a graph here right now, but I mean like if you've got your X and Y axes, essentially like I went up pretty fast like that. Where I think if COVID wasn't there, it would have taken me longer to get to that state.
For sure.
So I'm a
Yeah.
very appreciative of the opportunity, which sounds odd to say because it's a global pandemic, but um,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
a, I'm
You're like,
appreciative of the fact
yes.
that yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a terrible thing, but what's that phrase? An opportunivore. It's a mixture of a carnivore and an opportunistic person.
Oh, I've never
So
heard that. I like it though.
yeah. So I mean, I got in and decided to go, all in on it, and here I am now, and we're scaling and growing, and the intent is to,
That's great.
you know, our mission statement is to create clients for life by providing unmatched real estate experience that is centered around authentic and meaningful relationships. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you about the money aspect and I approached a lot of my big ticket challenges. I'll say it just for I don't know what other comparison there is, but a lot of people go into these things and they're sweating and they're grinding and they're trying hard to chase these kinds of accolades or these kinds of accomplishments. And I've never really gone into any of those things that way. I've never really invested in the allure or the luster of the titles or the courses or the qualifications or whatever. I just wanted to do them and do well.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
and that's all I did. So I just showed up, and the goodness comes with the result. But I think that's exactly where you excel. Is I think people can tell immediately when they interact with you. There's you got this great combination of um, they don't have to guess what you're trying to say or think. They get the sincerity from you right away, and you're direct enough without being obtuse or abrasive where they feel like you're actually not just taking care of them, but you're handling them. You're like, let me guide you through this. Let me, and they trust you
Mm-hmm.
right away, which is really impressive. And I'm just really grateful that you are able to find yourself in a position where you can, you know, bring so much positivity to yourself and your family and the people in the community you live and work in. Because there's not a lot of people that would realize that and then be able to take advantage of it and then finally go through and do it. You know what I mean? So you should be
Absolutely.
pretty proud of
Colin, you're
yourself.
the
That's a big
biggest
deal.
hype guy, man.
Yeah,
You're the
it's
best hype
impressive
guy, bro.
stuff, man. I don't think people give.
He's
I don't think
hired.
we give ourselves enough credit. It's impressive,
I
and
love
I
it.
I mean
I
to
love
that
it.
point. I mean, you talked about leaving a defined pension benefit plan. And I mean, every
That's hard
time
to
I talk
do.
with people about getting out of the military, that's the first thing that comes up. It's that or leave. Oh, you get so
Mm.
much time off, or yeah, you get this wicked pension, but you've been in it. If you're in it for long enough, and to be quite honest, everyone's got a different number, but eventually, I mean, all good things must come to an end, as it were, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually, your time with the military is going to come to an end. And I'm really glad that you were able to do it on your terms and in a timeline that suited your family.
Thanks, man. It's funny. There was a master warrant officer, named Levio George, in First Battalion. He was our company sergeant major when I first got there, and he was on his way out pretty fast because he ended up leaving and getting a really good job somewhere else. But
Oh wow.
he said one time to me, he goes, Don, he goes, whether you leave the army or it leaves you, whether it's medical or the end state is the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you better make sure you got your family in check and everything that's important, like your health. And I was like a young lieutenant when I heard that, and I was like, yeah, yeah, okay, cool. But I
No,
never really
duh.
forgot that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I never forgot that. I never forgot that. And I was like, oh yeah, like whether I choose to leave or I run my course, I do 35 years, and I even apply for like a CRA 60 extension to keep going for a few more years. You know, the end state is the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of was like, I have to have that control to do it now so I can shape a life with my family to have so that I'm not left, I guess, in the throes of whatever is after. If you do your 25, 30, 35, and I'm not saying don't do that, but for me, it wasn't the right decision to go do that because I wasn't happy. And I
Mm-hmm.
see so many people who are at that column before the show I was telling you. Um, like when you think about the majority of people that leave, in my experience at least, it's like in the NCM NCO world, it's usually around like maybe Jack to like sergeant level. In the officer course, that's senior captain to major level, and it's maybe around 12-ish years, 10 to 13 years maybe.
They
And
call it
if
the
you're
hollow middle.
right, okay, yes, that's right. I remember that. That's right. Yeah, yeah. So, and it's because people have put in the time, and they're starting families, and maybe their spouse is making more money than them.
Mm-hmm.
Their spouse has a great opportunity to pursue a job somewhere else, and like it's just there's so many factors now. I think that maybe wasn't prevalent in the same way um,
It's
that it
it's
is now.
to me the biggest change, and I didn't really consider this while we were talking earlier, but you mentioned the different ways, you leave the army, and I guess for all intents and purposes we could say any job. If you're
Mm-hmm.
looking to make any kind of career transition, you're facing the same kind of issues, and eventually you're going to fall out of love with whatever you're doing if you haven't already. And in the
Hmm.
military, one of the big ones we are always concerned about generally is getting hurt and injured, where you can no longer
Hmm.
do your job. So sometimes that's the military leaving you, and I would call that, you know, departing on your back foot kind of thing. You're trying to get your momentum, but I like what you've done, and this kind of makes me feel like the message should be if you're considering transitioning careers, do it on your front foot. Like, do it with momentum, get a
Right.
little bit of inertia, do it while you're healthy, do it while you can, do it while the timing never makes sense, I guess. But if you go
No,
for it on your terms,
Mm-hmm.
you might have just a little bit extra skin in the game kind of thing
well,
Right.
to
yeah, I
feel
mean,
better
like,
about it.
okay, this is maybe not a very eloquent analogy, but like, look at how Seinfeld ended, right?
Yeah.
Larry David and Jerry were like, listen, we are leaving at the like peak. We are leaving, and everyone's like, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at what they did. Curb Your Enthusiasm, phenomenal. Jerry Seinfeld doing Comedians in Cars. There is still more work to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't forget that.
That's
If
a
Mm-hmm.
you're
really
the
good
kind
thing
of
too.
person,
You talked
It's a
earlier, and you and Jenna
chapter,
mentioned.
I suppose.
yeah,
Well, that's it. We like the military is really good at looking like they. I believe that the military looks at everyone in uniform and says you need to serve for 25 years. Like I just get that impression. I don't know that that's
Lifelong
what it is.
service.
But yeah, I think everyone that thinks about leaving, and especially if they talk to anyone at their unit about it, they're going to have conversations, and people. It's hard. People think you're turning your back on them or you're abandoning
yeah,
them or whatever. It's like no, that's not it. It's not that I'm
Mm-hmm.
just because I'm leaving and I'm done here doesn't mean it's because I hate this place or I just like it's just like
no,
hey, my goals and my priorities have changed and I need to take my career from this to this in order to achieve
Mm-hmm.
that. Like it's a lot harder these days to keep things as neutral as they should be. I think I don't know.
and I've talked with so many people probably in the last 5 years since I was kind of like thinking about getting out, and for some of them, their like individual experiences may differ,
Yeah, yeah,
and they
yeah.
had amazing support from chains of command, or like I got one guy in particular. He had like a legitimate like mental health episode. And his chain of command, when I spoke with him, I met up with him for lunch in Halifax when he was here. And like he was just describing to me, like, I mean, he went through a divorce, a nasty one. He's got kids there, and he was overseas. His partner was or his ex-spouse was also a service member. Um, she was gonna get posted. They got to deal with the kid. Like, while and he's on tour, and he's describing the impacts of that in the years to come and how that manifested. And like his chains of command throughout several different jobs were wildly supportive. And that's the really exciting part that I hear about that I'm like, fuck yes. I'm like, fuck yes. You want to retain that motherfucker? You want to retain that person and show them and set an example of how you actually give a fucking care? That's what you
Mm-hmm.
do. That though is probably the exception for what I've heard. And the rule is usually
Might
like,
be
suck
rare.
it up. We're all in this together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's tough. It's like anything. I mean, you got good people in it, and it's hard when you got systemic things and like trying to change a culture is tough. And
And that's what it
um,
is. Like the
And
families don't
yeah,
want to get posted anymore, and yeah, it's weird. It's
it's
weird to
really
take this business
hard.
down the road it's got to go.
Yeah, it's hard on families. It really is, and um,
I mean,
you
you and
know,
Jordan were super. Like you guys went through exactly what Don was just talking about. Leaving one, well, not career per se, but one place of employment to another. Vastly
Jordan,
different
like
applications.
Jordan's, yeah.
Yeah, vastly different applications of the trade, and he's an electrician, Don, for your anyway. Like, I mean, that was a huge
FYI.
decision for you guys to have to make. Yeah, um, yeah, just what a wild time, Don. What do you want to tell people about? You know, if they're going to have to move, or if they're considering buying
Yeah.
or selling, or what if they're concerned about mortgage rates and interest rates and shit.
Mm.
What's on the old?
So
Are you a
the
fortune
first
teller?
thing,
Yeah,
the funny
tell
thing is no one
everyone.
else is. But so there's this cliche saying, and I hate it. So I hate it because I'm not going to use it. But like every realtor that I know, doesn't matter where in the
I
country, if you
just
ask
want
a
to
question,
hear
like,
it so much more
I
now,
don't have
dude.
a crystal ball, but so I'm not going to say that. But here's what I think, and I'll answer it in kind of two ways. I'll answer it first by qualifying, or first by, I guess, qualifying the fact that my regional marketplace in the Halifax and surrounding areas is going to be vastly different than other
100%.
areas of the
Mm-hmm.
country. However, in saying that, I
It's
coach in a
very
program.
location specific. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So I coach in a program, a Canadian program, Canadian coaching program that has agents across the country. So we are on weekly calls, and in those calls, I get to chat with other agents in different marketplaces,
Cool.
and we get to compare notes.
That's pretty
So
cool.
Yeah.
I have a good bead on what's happening in Vancouver or Toronto or Calgary or things like that. So
You have
while I'm not in those
eyes.
areas, I am getting a snapshot, pretty pretty I would say consistently of what's
And
going on.
current. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So what I'd say is number one, there's really two things I think that for the average person they need to understand or think about because the media pushes narratives and I'm not going to go conspiracy theory here, so just everyone
Damn
calm your
media.
fucking tits. Everything's fine. But the media does push narratives, so it's important to understand when you see things in newspapers or online about mortgage rates. So the overnight, okay, so the bond market is what actually will set our fixed rates. Okay, so most folks are going to do a 5-year fixed, right?
Hmm.
So those have the ability that's based on the bond market. So as that's fluctuating, those rates are going to fluctuate too, right?
Right.
Um, so case in point, if a client got pre-approved in October of this past year and they go out the door and they get pre-approved now, they've probably gone from like a 6% interest rate to a 5.14, which means their purchasing power has gone up.
Hmm.
So that's the first thing is understanding that the rates that the posted rates the banks are putting out there, that's impacted by the bond market. The second thing is that all these Bank of Canada announcements about the overnight rates, that's what dictates where we're going to go with essentially prime, right? So that's going to affect the pardon me, that's what's going to impact and affect the variable mortgage rates.
Hmm.
So the first thing is understanding which is which, because when you see something in the media about mortgage rates, you got to understand which is it talking about. That's the first piece. The second thing is it's very, very different, obviously, in certain areas. And I'm going to be nerdy here and boring for one quick second, and then I'll get back to being super dope. Um, the metric is this. So in a seller's market, which is what we saw through COVID, right? Sellers have the power.
Big
We
time.
analyze months of inventory as a key metric, which means that it took, if we didn't bring any other properties to market to sell, it would take that many amount of months to sell what's existing on the market based on the pace we've been selling. So
Okay.
0 to 3 months is a seller's market, roughly. 4 to 6 months is a balanced market, meaning that the advantage is in either. And then 6 months or plus of available inventory is a buyer's market. So those are key things to watch out for in my job because then I can say, okay, based on availability or inventory levels and then demand, this is what we're seeing, and I can coach my clients based on that. So in Toronto right now, we're very much in a balanced market based on available inventory, probably
Hmm.
approaching a bit of a buyer's market.
Hmm.
And there's this weird standoff happening, I think, where like sellers are still trying to get prices from years past
Yeah.
and
They're like, but my neighbor sold
buyers,
their house for this 2 years ago,
yeah,
right? I'm sure you're
yeah,
getting that. Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, in my first initial consult with somebody, when I'm trying to figure out what they're looking for, I'm gonna have a discussion about market trends, and I'll get a good beat on if they're excited because Jimmy Bob down the road sold in, March of 2022, and I know that expectation management out of the gate now is something I have to
Good.
do, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so different places are obviously different, but I mean, in Halifax, I think that the average right now, the average price point for for a detached home in and around the HRM area is 532,000 or 532,000. That is in contrast to last year at this time, and this time last year it was at 492. So that actually represents an appreciation from the previous year on year, of 13.7%. So what does that mean to the average person? It means that if you can go get a decent home for 500,000 bucks, you're probably in better shape out here than obviously in Toronto or Vancouver markets or
Oh
things
my
like that.
gosh. Yeah. What can you buy in Vancouver for that? My goodness.
Did you hear that Deep River, Ontario, is like
Yes, I heard
what
this.
is it like the best place to live or the prettiest place or something?
It
Have you
was
heard of this,
voted the
Don?
best
Deep
place to
I
River.
did
live, I
not
think.
hear
It's
that.
like it
Yeah.
backs up onto the
Did
Petawawa
I send
Trading
this to
area.
you?
Yeah.
I
Deep
think I
River
sent
Chalk
you.
River.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think you did. Anyway, I was like, man, everything around this place is a fucking hole. Yeah, Deep
Well,
I
River's made it on the globe. Like,
so
what the
hang
isn't the
on.
fuck?
power
So they
plant in Chalk River or Deep River?
It's chalk.
Chalk River, right?
It's
Yeah.
Chalk River. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, but
Oh,
people were
Deep
saying
River's
in the
further. Yeah, my bad.
comments,
Yeah. I don't
okay,
know.
people were saying in the comments of this because it was a TikTok. They're like, LOL, nuclear facility, like 20 minutes down the
Yeah,
road.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know how accurate that geography is, but I was just like, yeah, they failed to note that when they did
Right.
this review of Deep River, but it shocked me. I was like, Deep River?
You know
Like,
what
I'm,
I noticed?
I'm excited.
what?
Go ahead.
No, Don, you go first.
No. I was going to go off on something real estate related, and I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I was going to bring it back to real estate. I was going to say, he was talking the way you discussed that, Jenna, made me just think about misleading type things, and I feel like real estate photos have really fucking changed in the last like 10 years because I've not
Yes.
seen a house go on the market where the sunset behind it wasn't absolutely magnificent and
Oh my
stunning.
God,
Like,
yeah.
and then you go to this place, you're like, oh god, it looks like trailer trash over here. But
Man,
yeah,
I
and
so
now with all the drones and shit, like panorama, like it's
The
wild.
videos,
Fisheye
yeah.
lenses,
so
you can't appreciate how big a room is. It's wild.
So I always joke with disappointed buyer clients when we get to a place
Okay.
because it looks nothing like the photos. I'm like, it's like
Oh,
dating, with a profile picture on MySpace in 2007, with
totally.
like your
Yeah.
camera angle from up here
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
you're getting catfished, right? You're like, what the fuck is this?
yeah.
I did not sign up for
Yeah.
this shit,
I love
and
that
and then
comparison.
you're like, right? But I think that things were kind of accelerated during COVID because there had to be a safe and effective way to showcase a property's features with 3D floor plans, good professional photography, and
Yes. True.
drones and interior videos, and then plus going into properties and doing virtual tours for clients. And for me, like
Right.
I do half my business in Halifax and half out of it, so I'm doing real properties sometimes with no cell service. So I've got to record that video, go back to my office, upload it on Google Drive, send it as a
Send it.
link, and
Yeah.
then discuss it with them, right? So I think that the space for like, pardon me, like digital imagery within real estate kind of just really accelerated, and it's kind of
Right.
cool to see, when people are doing on TikTok and Instagram, and it looks sexy and shiny and cool and all that stuff.
On
You see
that
this guy?
on that note, I have to say, um, like I'm not shopping for real estate in half of the places I see on TikTok, but the real estate agents do an amazing job of walking you through in 30 seconds and
Mm.
showing you all the highlights and features and I mean the good ones I'm sure obviously, but yeah, I feel like that's such a quick, easy way to like grab somebody's attention and pique their interest maybe a little bit of, yeah.
Like the really cool thing about this business is there's literally a million ways to skin a cat, right? There's a million ways to get
Yes.
business, to do business. Like I'm never going to proclaim that I am like, a rock star in social. I
Mm.
have this like, massive, massive followership. There's some agents who are organically like that. And there's some agents who buy, numbers to try to pad things so the optics
Yeah.
look, what they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think that there are some
Stuff
folks
in
out
the
there
old
who are,
Twitter sock, eh?
yeah,
The
it's
X
some
some.
agents. But
Oh,
I mean,
right. I forgot.
some some folks kind of think that like, they gotta fake it till they make it. I don't believe in that. It's no, man, just do your thing because you
Yeah.
will attract the right people who want to work with you. And if you just focus on having good vibes in your tribe, like your life's gonna be great. It is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think it's a bit of an old adage, anyways. The fake it till you make it piece.
I was laughing because that's been my fucking army motto for the last 10 years. I don't obviously have no idea what I'm doing because I can't get promoted faster. I can't get promoted slower. You know what I mean? It's just
That's
I
amazing.
show up to work. I do what I'm told. We get along. It's going okay so far. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
Jenna, yeah, no, it's I don't know, man. Listen, I've been in the same room with you, and we have passed knowing glances at one another. Like, are we on the same fucking page? This
oh
happened, talking right now,
yeah,
briefing.
yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, it's wild.
You're like, I'm
100%.
sorry, what?
Some people do. I do the fake it till you make it. This is going to sound weird. I do it quietly, okay? I'm never loud professionally. I'm always
right,
loud as myself.
Right.
But some
right.
people get up in front of a group, a room of people, and just start talking, and you're like,
Stop.
what? Yeah, this is
Stop. Just
everyone
stop.
in
Yeah.
here is aware that you're wrong.
You
Yeah.
know, something that you said just right now made me think of something army related. When you're like a brand new subby, brand new officer, and you're getting talked to by, old officers, and I mean like really old officers, and they're talking about the troops, right? And they're like, okay, the troops this, the troops that, and I'm like, are you trying? And has deployed twice, like, and he's 27, like, like, you know, um, things are just different. And why I bring that up is because I realized that pretty quickly on that regardless of rank, you got to treat people in line with, obviously like how they should be treated. But I mean, also you got to respect and recognize the fact that a lot of people have worked on themselves and professionally developed themselves. And so where I'm going with this is, as a consumer in real estate, my default is always going to be, you've probably been online. You've probably been researching things. You've probably read up on things. You've probably been on TikTok. So when I first start talking to you, I'm not going to talk to you like you don't know anything. I'm going to ask
Mm-hmm.
you firstly, where are you on your journey so far?
Oh, that's a good
Right?
question. I
Mm-hmm.
Like,
like that.
like where are we at? How am I going to help you? Like, how
Where
much,
you been?
yeah, where you been? Right?
What's
Are you
that
new
song?
to
Where
this?
you at? Oh, is that Bruno Mars? That's it. Yeah.
So, but
That's a really
yeah,
good
I don't know.
question.
Like,
Yeah.
what else do you want to know though, guys? Like,
Don
I don't think
So
I
Bruxy.
have.
many things. Okay, is it a
Yeah.
good time to move to Halifax?
It is.
Okay.
I'm not gonna like sit on top of a soapbox right now and tap dance my way into your hearts
Everyone
and
come to Halifax. Yeah.
here's the legit no bullshit assessment from just personally me. Okay,
Okay.
if you are coming here and you're gonna be renting, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. So you're
No
looking at
product?
there's nothing, man. I mean,
Okay.
we've had big immigration numbers across the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got a lot of like
I
entry
don't know
level
if you've
service
seen the
jobs.
stats, but it's like,
I have.
yeah, crazy.
Yeah, so we're bringing almost a million folks in a month. It's
Yeah.
it's 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 pretty whack. And we don't have jobs
And they have
to
nowhere to
line
go.
up with that.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'll say is like, you know, if you're coming here to get a job and you're going to be renting, you are going to be you're going to be in a tough place. I'm not saying don't come, but
Be
And
prepared.
I'm saying it for a few reasons. One is availability. Two is the way that the landlord or that the Residential Tenancy Act is structured. So depending on the kind of lease that you have, if you're on a fixed term lease, you're only in that rental for say 6 months. If it's a 6 month fixed term lease,
Okay.
after that, the landlord can kick you out and raise the rent and rent it to somebody else.
Interesting. Sorry,
So
is this
and
Residential Tenancy Act Canada wide, or is this specific to?
no,
Every
provincially,
province has
yeah.
their own, yeah.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the second piece is like the way that it's structured. It can, the lease type, I would say, if it can impact if you're staying there or not. The second and the third part of that is our rental cap just went up from 2% to 5%. And
Okay.
I have a couple thoughts on that. Yes, we live in a world where there's some pretty shitty landlords. Let's just say that. Like to be clear, I am in a position of privilege where I own my own home and I'm in this line of work. So I feel that I have a savvy understanding of some things. But for many people, hardworking Canadians who are doing all the right things, they went to school or they got a job, they saved their money. It's tough. It's tight right now. And if you're renting, like you know what, it's hard, and I recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
But in Halifax, um, landlords, I think some landlords are being unfairly painted with a certain brush because Nova Scotia Power increased their rates by 14.1%, I believe, over 2 years. So we got half of it last year, 6.5% this year. Every, the taxes are not great. Lifestyle's great. There's an ocean basically everywhere surrounding you
Mm-hmm.
and lakes everywhere. But,
A lot of outdoor.
rent, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But
Yeah.
it's tough if you're renting. If you're
Mm-hmm.
buying a home, though, I don't think that I don't. So, like on my street, I sold, well, I'm such a good neighbor that people pay me to move away. I sold a house across from me, left and right of me, down the
Okay.
road. And it's funny, all these families from Ontario came in and now we're all friends and our kids play together and
Oh my
it's awesome.
gosh.
But I
You're
mean,
like a
it
version
it's
of
really is awesome.
expat, a little bit.
Yeah, it's like displaced Ontarians in Nova
Yeah.
Scotia.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that like anecdotally from just like, hanging out with them, they're all really enjoying their life here and they're enjoying the kids are loving schools and after school
Oh, wicked.
programs.
Yeah.
I definitely think that there's a lot to offer, but I'm also in a few Facebook groups of like Ontarians who've moved to Nova Scotia. Some folks just didn't do any research. They just bought in like rural Nova Scotia and they bought sight unseen with a
Oh
realtor who
dear.
they didn't know or was referred to them. And they were
Well,
just
that
like
seems a little bit
not enjoying their
foolish.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it was weird because, it's a very Ontarian thing to like not have home inspections when you're offering on things, or it was during COVID.
It
That
was,
crept in out
yeah.
here.
Okay.
And I was like, you're going to sign a waiver saying I told you that you should do a home inspection and it's your decision to do it because I don't want you coming and suing me 3 years down the
Mm-hmm.
line when something's wrong with the house. I told you to do a home inspection, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of folks didn't do home inspections. And then, they're unhappy or something happens with the house. And it's like, well, you know, but Nova
You
Scotia
were told.
is,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I'm excited about Halifax though because it is going through a monumental infrastructure development growth phase,
Nice.
um, and I think they're doing a great job of
Mm-hmm.
combining the historical aspects of the city with contemporary things like great condo buildings and the restaurant and entertainment industry is I think booming and thriving and yeah, we've just seen a great population growth and it's just super exciting. Yeah, I love it.
That's
That's
awesome, man.
awesome.
I'm so glad. Um,
It's
we're
hard
gonna
not to
have
fall in
to.
love with Halifax, I have to say.
Here's the deal. Anybody, so when you guys come out, all right, to this side of the country next time, I will take you guys on a tear and we will have a great time downtown and I will show you an authentic East Coast night out for sure.
Oh my
That'd be
gosh.
fantastic.
Sure. I
And we're
will
gonna
have to
have you on the
stop at
show
Okay.
my.
again. What was that?
Yes.
What's the
Yeah,
name
yeah.
of that street called? Where you get stabbed? Oh,
Pardon me.
What's that? Where you get stabbed?
Sorry, sometimes when the audio doesn't come in, we step on each other. So I think that's what Jen and I just did. But
Pardon me.
remember, we met for drinks. Cassie came out with us too, and we were going to walk back, but you guys wouldn't let us walk back.
Right. So that would have been in what, like 2016?
Something like that. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I think that was probably on Goddardin Street.
Yeah. Gottagun Street. Is that what it was? Or
Gottagun, yeah.
something like
Got
that.
it, got
Anyway, you're like, you guys can't
Pardon
walk.
me.
You're gonna get shot or stabbed.
No,
or
no,
something.
it's
Anyway.
I would
That's
say
it.
that
It was fun.
gentrification has
While we're out there,
has
I
reared
will
its head there. And
have a little stopover at Benjamin Bridge and get my favorite wine, Nova 7, for anybody who wants any.
oh,
It's
Nova
pretty good.
7. Listen,
Oh, dude.
here's
It's
the
the
deal.
best.
If you like
Okay.
Nova 7,
Yeah.
if you like Nova 7, I want you to please try a Tidal Bay by Yost. Okay?
Okay. I love me a Tidal Bay.
Yeah,
Yes.
Jost.
J-O-S-T.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you right now,
Right
you're
now,
gonna love
yeah.
it.
All right, Don. Where can people find you?
Yes.
So literally, just I'm not gonna throw out my handles. Just Google my name. That sounds
At Don
At-
Evelyn McCooey
at-
for his X
at Don
handle.
here at Big D Money. No,
Well,
just
we'll
just-
link
just
your
honestly, like-
TikTok if you'd like in the show notes.
yeah, TikTok,
Mhm.
Instagram, Facebook. I'm on all the stuff, but I mean,
Great.
you know what? You Google my name and you're gonna see what I'm about and what people think what it's like to work with me. And if you're coming
Top
to
2%.
Halifax or the surrounding areas, I am always happy to help. Oh, stop it.
Aw.
Who said that?
I did.
Yeah, and so for
no,
everyone listening out there,
yes.
if Jenna, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Colin. Anybody listening?
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, if because this is how I found our realtor when we got here is, let your friends know on the East Coast. If you're going to the East Coast, talk to people because it's hard to get into an area and trust people immediately. So maybe by virtue of us vouching for Don, you'll feel comfortable vouching for Don and throw a little business his way. And then if you guys have any other real estate questions, let us know for the next time Don's on.
Yeah, like if listen, I'm happy to put a bunch of analysis into stuff for you. If you want to know about the condo market specifically, I'll focus on that. If you want to know about like semis versus detached homes or areas where there's new construction coming, maybe like buying pre-construction condos, like I'm happy to answer all that. Whatever I can do to add value or bring a value, I'm there for it, right? So
it's a bit of a missed opportunity now, but and maybe just take a minute or two. But what about all those people that are defaulting or just like giving all their money to the developers in is it in the Toronto area? They're just walking away from $200,000 deposits.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Yeah. So essentially, they bought pre-construction at pandemic peaks, gave the deposits in as the homes are being built during whatever phase of the development. Well, the market is now corrected, come down. So the bank, well, number one, the bank is not going to offer the funds or lend the funds potentially because it's not worth what it was 2 years ago. And people are saying, listen, like we are okay with setting fire to this thing. I mean, not us, but because I'm seeing it happen. But I mean, people are setting fire to stuff and walking away, or else just walking away, and then someone else is going to scoop it up, right?
That's
Or else just trying, or else it's
So
called
those
an
units
assignment
just go
sale.
back on. Okay.
Yeah, so like if you're under contract and you're trying to like essentially pass it over to somebody else, it's called an assignment sale, where you're saying, listen, I've put the deposit in, I'm willing to walk away from the deposit so, all right, Jenna, you've put an offer on a house at market peak, you've put $300,000 deposit down. It's now, you paid 1.2 for it, and now it's worth 8. Okay, you're saying, listen, I've put a deposit down on this, and I'm willing to walk away from it if you, Colin, will come in as the buyer now and finish this out essentially. Maybe that large deposit offsets some of what that price point is.
Imagine getting your fucking down payment just total stranger.
Yeah,
That's so sad though.
it's wild, man, and I think that I think that a lot of people, I think a lot of people made decisions, and it's so weird. And I could go for hours about this because it's different in the States versus here. Like in the States, like, interest rates at their lowest were like what, like 1.7, I think,
I think.
1.69, 1.7, something like
Yeah.
that in Canada. Well, when we do our mortgages in Canada, they're for set terms, right? If you're doing, right, so you could do 1 year fixed term, or 3 or 5, whatever, 7. In the States, when you get your mortgage,
That's their rate for your.
that's that's the rate for like the whole,
Until you're done paying
amortization
it,
period,
yeah, it's fucking wild.
as long
There's
as you don't
no
move,
remort.
right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, as long
okay.
as you don't move, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, people who were getting like these rates at 1.6% down there, that's free money, Like if you're not moving, you are set for life. And I think where that's going to be interesting to watch is like these economic disparities in like the generations to come, and see like, I just think the gap between those that have and who do not are going to be larger, because of the things
Right.
that really precipitated in the last 3 years. It's going to be kind
Wow.
of crazy.
That's what they're all
Yeah.
saying too. That disparity gap is just growing.
It's really tough
It
right
kind of
now,
makes you just
but
really be able to be grateful for what you do have, though. It really puts things into
well,
perspective.
it does, and it definitely, I think for me at least in this business, it gives me a lot of reason to look around at how real estate is utilized in this country as a vehicle for generational wealth accumulation,
Yeah.
and
Interesting.
how
Yeah.
that's historically been used, and is there space for that to continue? I mean,
What a good
there's a
question.
very
My God.
Yeah.
popular, it's called the Burr method. Have you ever heard of it?
I honestly thought you were going to
BRRRO.
say the Burt Reynolds effect, and I was
No.
all in. I wanted it. I have not heard of the
No.
Burr effect though.
No, yeah, so there, it was very, very popular, HGTV like popularized, people going in and flipping homes, rehabbing them and renting them out, and yada yada yada, and,
Yeah.
buying a house for super cheap and putting some money into it, and then all of a sudden getting the bank to appraise it at $200,000 more than they paid for, unlocking up to 80% of that equity to buy the next one, and just building and building and building. And all of a sudden now someone's got 30 doors in 2 years or 3 years. And I think that got popularized a lot. But you can't do that in an economic climate where interest rates in Canada are what they are,
Hmm.
where inflation has caused food prices to be what they are. And
And
I mean,
they kind
I
of
don't know a lot of
won't,
folks who are saving.
like the banks kind of don't want you to. Like they look at you if you have one mortgage, and say it's a rental property, and then you're applying for another mortgage, and they're kind of like, this is, you can't, like, worst case scenario,
Yeah,
the renters
yeah,
don't pay.
and
How are you going to come up with your mortgage payment? So it's yeah, it's interesting.
you can get to, I think, about 3 or 4 residential mortgages before you
Okay.
better have a holding company, and
Right. Yeah.
and start doing things through a holding company. Yeah,
Take it
yeah.
out of like you
But that changes your
personally.
lending requirements then,
Ooh,
Oh, interesting.
right?
Okay.
lots of
Yeah.
tidbits
So
there.
Yeah.
what you should do next time is you should have like a mortgage broker on, and then a private lender on, and talk about, and then they could talk about what they see from their perspective,
Yeah.
because I bet you that they would tell you some harrowing tales of what it's like in the finance industry.
That's actually a
I
really
bet.
great idea, and we might try to
Yeah,
do
because
that.
they have
Whole series
they
on
have a,
personal
yeah.
finance for the housing
Mm-hmm.
market.
Perfect for January episodes, I think, because it's the month where people try and revitalize their lives and do better, you know. So
Yeah, oh my God, right? Yeah, we're all just trying to hang on, man. So just be nice to each other, be kind, do
yeah.
nice things. That's it, man.
Yeah, be nice to each other is a
Mm-hmm.
big one. My goodness,
I love that.
could all use a
Yeah.
little bit more of that. And speaking of kindness, for a guy who's got custom made shirts that he wears to work every day, and he's an hour ahead on the East Coast, I'm just
Yes.
super happy that Don, you've given us this much of your time. It's obviously
Happy to.
worth a lot more than we can pay for. So
We're
really,
very
really
grateful.
appreciate you being here and having a great conversation with us. And I hope our listeners get something from this. I'm sure they will. And what I look forward to the most is having you on again. So thanks once again.
I'm happy to be here
Congratulations to
anytime you have
Jamie.
me.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Yeah, that was she's been working with me as an assistant for a while, but she actually only just got her license now. So this has been in the works for a bit, and now we get to be that husband and wife duo as we go out and
So just
do
for
real
the
estate.
record, I want
Exciting.
everyone to know that they were married before she was his assistant.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, the order's not super
I
important, but it's just just it's just nice to
no,
know.
but I mean, yeah, just for like the logistical purposes, I think it's important.
Yeah. Don's a stand-up guy. Yeah, he doesn't. Homie don't play.
Oh, man. But thanks for having me on, guys. I'd love to be here anytime. And any way that I can add value, I'm always happy to do it.
Thanks so much, Don.
Of course, guys. Jenna, thank you. Colin, thank you, man.
I think Jenna froze. We can't finish until she says toodles. It's like the thing. Jenna.
Uh-oh. Please unfreeze.
Oh, she fucking left.
Okay.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, I think she'll probably send me a text here in 2 seconds. I have a feeling maybe just her computer crashed or something. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it at this. Toodles, everyone.
Toodles.
And yeah, looking forward to talking to you again, Don. Thanks so much once again.
All right. Thanks, man. Cheers, buddy.